Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Shadows Podcast. I'm your host, Trip Odenheimer. And today I am excited for my guest that I have here. It seems like we've been planning this forever. We finally made it happen. And then I actually had a whole embarrassing mix up with another guest prior to. It's just a long story, but they're the only two who know about it, which is good. But ladies and gentlemen, I have today Christina Mendez. She is here as a guest. She's a 3-time Hodgkin's lymphoma survivor. Just super kudos to you. Hydration and circulation specialist. Ma'am, welcome to the Shadows Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on. I'm finally happy we made this happen. I can't talk apparently, but it's great to be on and to be able to share my story.
Yeah, we got connected through Brandy Benson, who I think the world of. She's absolutely incredible. Yeah, she is. And I'm excited for this. You are located in Irvine, California?
Yes.
So you probably have a lot better weather than I have in Alabama.
It depends on the day, but probably we have the best weather.
Yeah, we've got pollen really bad, and it just will not go away. And that is, I swear, it's going to kill me one day. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the 5 rounds presented by Giant Worldwide. Head over to Giant/Shadows. Check out their leadership seminar. First question for you. What's something you keep telling yourself you'll do when you have time or when you retire?
Travel.
Okay.
Definitely travel. I always say I want to travel and I make excuses to not go traveling, which makes no sense to me. So I'd have to say travel.
So when you say travel, are you talking about like other countries, or are you talking about
like other countries?
Like kind of like a
Tahiti,
sub question.
Tahiti, Bali, Madrid, like all over the world, really. Just anywhere warm.
Yeah.
Anywhere warm with a beach. I want to go to all the islands in Hawaii, Bahamas, just anywhere that's an island. I actually really think I want to live in Bali for like 6 months.
Yeah, that sounds pretty nice.
Sounds amazing.
I tell you though, once you get started with the travel bug, it's like hard to get rid of it. Because when I was in Europe, we went to, I think we went to like 27 countries over there. But then we got back here and we're basically like stuck in Alabama, and then COVID hit, but I was dying to get back out and go anywhere.
Yep.
Okay. What would be your theme song for life?
Oh, that's a hard one. Wow, I've never thought about that. That's a hard one for me. I'm super bad at names of songs. So that's not a good question for me. I don't know the name of any song. I know there's songs I like. So I don't really know.
Who would be the artist who would do your theme song?
The artist for it, another one that it's just hard for me. I'm not huge into music and art and like the art of music. I do like it. I just am really bad with the names. I was gonna be funny and say like the Rocky song when he's going out.
I could see that. I could see that though.
Like that theme song of just getting started for the day. Yeah. I don't know who sings it.
It fits your story too. So
yeah, like it totally fits the story. It's like that momentum that I need.
Yeah.
Most of the time I just hear like David Goggins in my ear, just like, you can do this, don't quit.
That's a good one to have in your ear.
Yeah. So that's like most of the things I hear in my ear is, Goggins telling me to keep going because, you can keep doing this.
Okay. If you could wake up tomorrow having gained one ability, what would you want?
One ability. In what way?
It could be a feature. It could be we'll go superpower. You have a superpower.
My superpower would be to cure everybody in the world.
Okay.
That would be my superpower.
Very
Just
selfless. I like that. It's not
very.
flying or anything like that.
No, I mean, I'm scared of heights, so flying would be super overrated for me. So that would be like one of those things. But I would say like just, being able to cure people, I think would be really cool.
Okay. And let's see. Okay. If you could follow someone around for one day, who would you follow?
Dang, that's hard. So it would probably be Tony Robbins.
Okay. Very
Just
inspirational.
because I feel like he is like a superhuman and he's really into like biohacking, health, mentorship, and growth. He's been on like my bucket list forever to go to one of his live events.
Yeah.
So I found him really during my treatment stuff. So I would say Tony Robbins.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What book would you recommend for our listeners?
Ooh, so many good books. I love reading, so I literally do a book a month. Um,
Wow.
but currently, my favorite book, of course, because it goes with what I do, is You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. It is a book that a lot of people would probably never pick up, but there's so much amazing information in that book. If they're looking for more transformational of like self-help book, I really loved different Louise Hay books. She's one of my favorite authors, and I literally read every single book she has.
Okay. And this will be listed under our book recommendations on our website. So folks, make sure y'all head over there, check those out. And trust me, that book fits in perfect with some of the books we have on there that are just, everybody thinks it's just leadership books, but trust me, we have something for everybody over there. All right. And then, yeah, I think that's 5. I think you survived the,
I think that was 5. I think I got it.
plus you answered the follow-up with where to travel. So we'll go with 5 there. All right. Well, once again, folks, head over to giant.tv/shadows. Check out all the stuff they have to offer for the leadership course that they are offering Giant Worldwide. But ma'am, now let's jump into your story.
Let's go.
So talk to us about your upbringing. Where did you grow up?
So I was born in San Jose, California. I was raised in Las Vegas. So I'm more of a Las Vegas native. I've been there since I was a child. And currently I live in Orange County.
Okay. And what were some of your aspirations as a child?
I always wanted to like sing and dance, but that wasn't really something my family wanted me to do. But I did play the flute for like 6 years, and I actually performed in Disneyland, and it was really cool. So that was really fun. And then I grew up to work in the casino industry in Las Vegas, which I never thought would be something that I would want to do.
Yeah, how'd you
But
get
it
into
was
that?
a fun opportunity, and it was great.
How did that come about?
So it was complete accident. I was actually going in for a modeling audition to do some promo modeling, and I kept getting directed to this office. They're like, you need to go to this office on this floor. So I went, and they offered me a full-time blackjack dealing job. And I'm like, I don't know how to deal blackjack. I'm not
Yeah.
even 21 yet. I'm 20. I'll be 21 in the summer. And they're like, well, that's perfect. By the time you're finished, then you can start dealing. So it basically happened on accident. So they had like model pits in Las Vegas where it's like the girls in cute little outfits dealing blackjack with a lot of energy and go-go dancers. So it just kind of happened for me. It was really interesting. It was fun. It was cool to be able to
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm a blackjack dealer in Las Vegas. So
Just imagine them looking at headshots and then going like, all right, you're going to be our blackjack dealer.
right. Completely
Down at the
different.
Tropicana. Yeah.
I was at Planet Hollywood, the Win. I went to a few different casinos.
Okay. I know where the Planet Hollywood is.
Yeah. So I went to a bunch of different casinos. It was a fun time for sure.
Okay. And then how long were you there?
So in the casino industry, I was there for 10 years, in Las Vegas for 30 years.
So you had to see some crazy stuff working out on
Lots of crazy stuff.
what's
Every day was crazy.
that like go-to story that when you're at a party, it's like, okay, I got one for you.
Okay, so I once dealt to Al Pacino, which was really cool.
Oh
So
wow.
that's usually a go-to story. It was very short. But the other story I really go to is I once took $1 million from somebody in about a 10-minute span. They picked up a chair to throw a chair at me because they were so upset. And I told them to go ahead. I was like, go ahead. I like early retirement. Like, I had nothing to say. So that's usually my go-to story, but I saw a lot of crazy stuff in Vegas. There's so many stories. And just the blackjack dealing time, a lot of money on the table, a lot of quick losses, a lot of amazing wins. But yeah, so that would probably be, those are like my two go-to stories.
You see the highest of highs and the lowest of lows financially.
100%.
Grown men crying tears of joy and sadness.
And sadness. Yep.
Follow up for the chair thing. What when you called them out on that, did they just like put the chair down? Like, okay, you called
They
them.
like put the chair down and kicked me out of the high limit room. They were like, get her out. And the funny thing was, I was in my like model attire, which was like booty shorts and like a corset. So I'm in like this little costume basically. And they pulled me in there because they wanted me to deal to them. And when they were losing, they were so mad. So they kicked me out of the room. So I think it's my like the funniest thing that happened while I was dealing. When I was cocktailing, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But dealing, that was probably one of the funniest things that happened. It was probably wasn't as much in the moment, but like with everything there, you know, you're so protected that it's not really a thing.
See, to quote Mark Twain, never let truth get in the way of a good story. Now you need to like mesh those two together and say that that was Al Pacino that was threatening you with a chair. And
I mean, that would have just been epic.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so what changed? What got you out of Planet Hollywood and out of the casinos?
So I was cocktailing after I was a blackjack dealer. And actually, what got me out of the casino industry was getting diagnosed with cancer at 29.
Mm.
So I woke up with a tumor in the left side of my clavicle, and I was still working full time. I had zero symptoms, and I was training Pilates, a full time Pilates instructor as well. And they didn't really know what was going on. So I was getting tested and tested. And further down the line, I had a doctor tell me I needed to leave. Like, if I wanted to get any better, I needed to leave a casino environment because casinos are very smoke filled in Vegas. And in their opinion, it was no matter what I did every day, I was taking away over 50% of everything I was doing just walking into the building. So that's how getting out of the casino industry happened for me. It was very abrupt. It was very unexpected. So it was kind of like a halt of life as a whole.
And when you noticed, so
You're
like
muted.
when you first it's one that you hear people all the time talk about how, I noticed a bump, I noticed something, but at first I didn't go get seen. When was that moment for you when you were like, okay, I need to go get this checked out?
So for me, it was really random because I went pretty fast, but it was mainly after I was teaching Pilates and I'm showing somebody a workout, and I thought it was a torn muscle. I didn't think anything of it. I was gonna go to see a specialist, and somebody's like, "You should go get checked. That shouldn't be a torn muscle if you're not aching." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess I never really thought about that." It was kind
Yeah.
of not in my head of thinking something was wrong with me. I just thought I like tore something or did something wrong in a movement. And I ended up going to my first appointment, and I had just had a full physical. So they like looked at my physical, ran blood work, everything was 100% normal. And they put me on antibiotics and sent me home. So that was that. And I went to another doctor like a few days later because nothing was changing after I finished that round of antibiotics. And the doctor ran more tests on me. everything came back 100% perfect again. Like nothing was showing wrong. So she was like, I think you need to go get checked for cancer. I looked at her and I was like, you're crazy. I'm super healthy. I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my life. Like, there's no way. Like, there's no way. So I ended up starting to book appointments, and it took them a long time to figure it out. My first biopsy came back unknown, uncommon. And then I had a second biopsy, and that came back unknown, uncommon. So running into these doctors and going to get help, I was just getting sent away basically, like, oh, here's another round of antibiotics. Here's another round of antibiotics. So that's really the way it was happening. And then they did a scan, and they're like, we still think it's cancerous, but we're not seeing anything. So with the biopsy unknown, uncommon, they put me on a watch. So once a month, I had to go back and get checked to see exactly what was going on, and there was no changes, so they couldn't figure anything out. So they did another needle biopsy, and the same thing, unknown, uncommon. So it was pretty crazy because
How
I'm still,
frustrating was that?
oh, it's so frustrating. And still having the growth on my neck. Like, luckily my hair was super long, so I could like hide it and you couldn't tell. But it was really frustrating to go in, tell them something's going on. Well, what's your symptoms? I don't have any. But can you check further? And it's just like very passive, very, very passive with it. And well, we don't see anything wrong, so come back. And just keep coming back and going. And I tried a bunch of different doctors. I didn't kind of just stop there. I was like, okay, let me try another doctor.
Yeah.
And so I went through a series of them. I probably went through like 8 or 9. And there was some doctors that wanted to do surgery to remove it and just go in and cut. They were going to cut like 11 inches on my neck and just slice me and take out what they could. I'm like, but you guys don't know what it is. So why would we do that? Or the surgeon wouldn't agree with the doctor on doing the surgery. So that experience for me was extremely exhausting. And one of my girlfriends, she had MS at 25 years old, and she suggested that I go see her holistic doctor. I thought it was like quackery. I didn't really understand it. Like, I'm like, okay, whatever. And she's like, well, your doctors aren't telling you anything, so just try it. Why not? So I go over to meet this doctor, and he's like, okay, tomorrow morning, you're full plant-based. This is the list of food you can eat, and you're going to do vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. You're going to come see me 3 times a week. So I'm going to see you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every single week until we figure out what's going on. So within 3 weeks of seeing him, my growth disappeared. So I'm like, so we were still in that limbo of not figuring out what was happening with me. And I was still working at the time in the casino business, and I was cocktailing at that time, and, you know, going through the ringer of like, and all of a sudden I woke up one morning, and I had no symptoms. And I woke up one morning and I was down like maybe 20 pounds, like my muscle just depleted. And it was about 1:30, and I was like shredded. Like I love to work out. So I literally woke up and my muscle was gone. So then somebody referred me to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and we scheduled a biopsy. And this was almost a year later. So this is a long period of time, a long period of them going through everything. So we scheduled a biopsy. So I underwent surgery to just see what's going on, because that rapid weight loss scared me. It literally was like muscle gone overnight. It was so crazy. And I ended up doing the biopsy, and I remember because I was about to walk through the new house I just built, and the doctor called me and he's like, are you sitting down? He was a friend of a friend. He goes, I'm not supposed to give you this news, but this can't wait. You have cancer. He goes, you're positive for, and I don't even remember the conversation or the drive home. I don't even know how I got home, which is scary, because it was just one of those moments of just get there and just be alone. And it was crazy. So that's how I found out. Somebody told me to go to this ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he potentially, you know, saved my life because nobody else was finding anything. And the doctors weren't agreeing on surgery and sending me back and forth. And the holistic doctor got everything to shrink. And when we did the biopsy, it was very small. And it was a very small chunk of what came out. So I think waiting was probably one of the best things in a way, and starting to do nutritional stuff in that as well, and really letting my body heal and function differently. I think that was a big thing for me, that truly helped. And it's something that led me during my holistic journey. So at that point, I was recommended to go see an oncologist, and he was horrible. Oh my
Really?
goodness. I'm sitting there and I'm like, hey, so I got my tumor to shrink. This is the before and after picture. It's gone. I'd like to stay holistic. Will you monitor me? You're stupid. You're this. You're that. How dare you? You're
Jeez.
going to kill yourself. Just going on and on and on. Then he offered me a Vicodin so he could handle me better. So at that point, I had some choice words for him.
Yeah.
And I went off and I was like, listen, you have soda, you have junk food in your office, and you have candy bowls at the end of checkout. And it literally says underneath, if you're going through chemo, do not take candy. But you're a cancer center.
Yeah.
So what sense does that make? So I had choice words and I walked out. And I stayed on my holistic journey. So it kind of, one bad doctor kept me holistic. I kept looking for doctors to monitor me while I stayed natural. No doctor would agree on it. So I just decided to do
What
it
in the
myself.
world?
I was like, you know what? I can go get blood work ordered. I can go do this. I can go do that. So I really made the choice to stay natural because I had results from natural. So
What was
that
the
kind of,
justification for that?
there was none. That's the whole thing. You
It's
know, I
just they
think
didn't agree with it.
well, you know, there's a lot to say about going through cancer, and being somebody on the other side of that is your doctors get paid to, one, diagnose you, which a lot of people don't realize. So they get a bonus to diagnose you. Then they get paid to treat you. So if I want to do treatment elsewhere, then he's not the doctor that would get the diagnosis.
Mm.
So there was a lot of stuff I realized with that. But with that, I still went to other oncologists, and none of them would agree on doing anything where they would monitor me, which was really one of those things where it was like, what happened to my body, my choice?
Yeah.
You know, like what happened to that? And I really realized it's based on your insurance as well. So I literally would change insurance. I would change insurance to go see another doctor. I would pay out of pocket. I was willing to do whatever. I even started traveling out of the country. So that was a whole nother thing, is being holistic led me to go out of the country. And I was going to Colombia, the country, and I was doing high doses of vitamin C. And the reason I chose Colombia is I had a mentor that took me there. Not only that, there was non-synthetic vitamin C there.
Mm.
So that makes a huge difference. A lot of stuff in the US is synthetic based, corn based, which causes more cancer. So I was already doing my research, and I was going up there and doing vitamin C treatments, and I was doing great on them. I had no traces of it. I was finally able to gain weight back. I felt like really good. I was full plant-based at this time, still seeing my holistic doctor. He was on board with my vitamin C treatments. So everything was going amazing. I went to Colombia 5 times for the vitamin C, which was a fraction of the cost it would have been in the US.
Yeah.
And I got introduced to somebody who was doing stem cell transplants. So I was through my mentor, and I ended up opting in to do stem cell. And it was like $30,000, which was insane. So I did a fundraiser and was able to get the money to go do stem cell. And
Oh.
I went and did stem cell a few months, probably about a year later. So I went and did stem cell. And the first take of stem cell was amazing. They sold me on a cure-all. I would never have to deal with cancer again. That this is the be all of everything. It's going to be the new movement of medicine. And out in America, there was still a wait because this is a few years ago. So there was barely clinical trials starting of it. So I ended up going out. I get my second and third transplant. They decided to do them both in the same week. And I knew something was wrong immediately. The third day, so it was pretty crazy. So the second transplant was great.
Yeah.
The second day of the recovery was fine. The day they went to do the third, my body was rejecting the needle. And the doctor kept trying. And I was like, I don't think we should do this. I think my body is like done right now. Mm-hmm. And he really forced it because they didn't send me out on medical visa. So they were doing it a little bit shady. And I didn't know that at the time. So they were really pushing to do my third transplant, and they said it was like a time and it was fine. So probably like the fourth or fifth take, I don't remember exactly. The needle finally took and they did the transplant. I was having like night sweats pretty fast, like within the few days of there. I had to fly home. It was like a 24-hour flight from India to Las Vegas, which was insane because I still lived there at the time. And I'd started having random issues come up. So randomly, I would not feel good. And I would reach out to them and they would completely dismiss it. And they were like, you're eating too clean. You're doing this too clean. I'm like, too clean? Like, how is that a thing? Yeah. I don't understand what you mean. Like, tell me what to do and what to change then. So I was really willing to work with them. And I literally woke up one morning and I had full-blown jaundice. I was completely yellow. My skin was yellow. My eyeballs were bright yellow. And by the afternoon, it would completely go away. So I'd go to make an appointment with the doctor, go to the doctor, it's gone. I'm like, oh, okay. Like the doctors thought I was crazy.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I swear.
Here's a picture. Like I would take a video because they didn't believe me. So I'd go back in. They'd send me back home. They're like, everything's fine. We did blood work, go back home. So they just keep sending me back home. I'm beyond frustrated. This is so much money in doctor bills. This is so much money in like just medical in general. I was paying out of pocket for holistic. I paid out of pocket for stem cell. And here I am paying out of pocket to see what's going on with me. Well, I finally got taken seriously because I woke up one morning and I'm going to the bathroom in reverse colors. So I was actually, I was peeing brown and pooping white. So it's too much information, sorry, but it happened. And I called my mom. I was like, you need to come get me. I know I'm going to have to go into emergency. Something's severely wrong. They're not letting me leave until they figure it out. So I go to the hospital. I tell them what's going on. They run all these tests on me. We don't see anything. We can't figure anything out. I'm like, I literally have jaundice. I'm going to the bathroom in reverse colors and they're still not figuring anything out.
These are like all different doctors along the way.
Oh, this is all different doctors, different hospitals. Like I pretty much exhausted every doctor in a hospital in Vegas at this point. And I knew some heads of the hospitals. I won't say names because I can't. But they were like, if you want a fighting chance, you need to leave. Even a state worker for disability was like, you need to leave if you want a fighting chance. And that was mind blowing to me. They're like, we don't have cancer specialists here. They're like, we just don't have it. Emergency, wonderful. Cancer specialists, we don't have.
Cut your finger, we got you, but.
Huh?
I said, cut your finger or something, we got you, but break
exactly. Cut your finger off, amazing emergency. Have something emergency, we're good. Cancer, go somewhere else. I was happy that I had those connections to tell me that, but it was really scary in the mix of it. So here I am at the hospital and they're still running all these tests. They put me in, they put me on IV, they have me stay the night to see what's going on and monitor me. And I'm like, I had cancer, but I've been in remission. Okay, let's run a scan on you. So they run the scan. They literally ghost me for 24 hours. The nurses are changing shifts. And I'm by myself, and I hear the nurses say that I have stage 4 cancer when they're switching off. I'm like, excuse me? What did you just say? So they told me, you have full blown stage 4 cancer. You have to wait for your doctor to give you the full cancer diagnosis. I immediately call my mom freaking out. Can't get a hold of her because it's like 12:30 at night or 1:30 at night. And she comes in the next morning and I tell her, I was like, I have stage 4 cancer. The test came back stage 4. They, mind you, I'm at this point, they figured out I'm 2 points away from liver failure because of the cancer. So they were going to do a GI surgery on me. And instead of doing it, the doctors released me. They said that the surgeon and the oncologist didn't agree. So here I am again, surgeon and oncologist or doctors not agreeing with each other. So I got sent home.
And you're what, 30?
Huh?
You're 30 years old at this time?
I'm like 31 years old when this is happening. So I get sent home and that's it. They're like, you need to go find an oncologist that will treat you, and you'd possibly need to have GI surgery to keep your liver intact or put something in there. We don't know. So I'm like, okay. So here I am, like back at square one, diagnosed stage 4. This is my second diagnosis in a 2-year span, basically. And I go the ringer and I'm going to doctor, and working in Vegas. I'm like, you know what? I know a lot of people with a lot of money, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but wealthy people have the best doctors. They have the best medical care. That's it. So we reached out to a few friends, a few of me and my friends, and we got 3 recommendations. One place would not take me at all. They're like, listen, we don't know what you did. We don't want to put our hands in this. No. I'm like, okay, that's a pretty big statement as far as a hospital not wanting to help. And the other appointment I went to was horrible. It was at UCLA, and it was the worst appointment. I think I walked out like 20 minutes into it. Had choice words for the doctor, walked out. He was awful. He was like, you did this again, a doctor, you did this to yourself. How dare you? This is your fault.
Jeez.
So I go to my last appointment. I'm like, ugh, and I'm exhausted. I'm running around. I'm like 85 pounds at this point because I'm super sick. I have full blown jaundice, and I'm going to the bathroom still in reverse colors. So I'm still having a lot of issues. I go to this doctor, and he's in Beverly Hills, and he's like, you look so healthy. You're like the healthiest cancer patient I ever had. I'm like, here's my paperwork. He looks at my vitals. He's like, your vitals are great. We have so many choice things we can do. Let's get you into a MRI or a scan. I'm like, oh, here's my scan. I just had one last week. So I hand him my disc. He goes, looks at it outside of the room, comes back, and he's ghost white. He's like, statistically, you should be dead. Ugh. I have no idea how you are walking and talking and acting normal. He goes, but we need to act immediately. We need to admit you and start chemo on you ASAP. I said no. And I went home because we weren't prepared to stay. I asked if that was a possibility. We were in a rental car. We didn't have clothes. We had nothing with us. And I was like, I'm going home. I'm not doing this. I'm not going through chemo. I know the chances of this. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to go enjoy life. Mm-hmm. Like, that was literally what I wanted. And my nephew was born shortly before that. And my brother told me, how do I tell him his aunt gave up on life? Ouch. So I called that doctor like a few weeks later. I was like, fine, I just want to spend Thanksgiving with the family, and then I'm going to go. So I call him. They get me in. The day they got me in for treatment and running tests on me and starting treatment, they're like, if we start treatment, we will immediately kill you. You have 2 points away from liver failure. If we start chemo, it's going to turn your body fully into acidosis, and it's going to kill you. So we need to see if we can do emergency surgery. However, that's backed up for the next 3 weeks with the GI that we need to put you in with. So I'm sitting here like, oh, so I'm gonna have to sit in the hospital for 3 weeks. Yeah. That night, the Santa Ana fires happened. So I was rushed into a surgery because somebody couldn't make it through to get to their appointment. So I'm in the shower. The nurse comes running in, knocking on my door, and I jump out of the shower. I like have a towel on me, and he like throws me in a heated blanket and like runs me through the hospital to get me to this appointment. The GI doctor expected me to be on dialysis for the rest of my life. He said this is the first surgery he's ever performed on anybody with cancer. Their idea was to put stents into my liver and open it, since I had 2 lymph nodes bigger than my fist, closing my liver and bile duct closed. He goes, if your body reacts, it's going to kill you instantly. My mom went to get food. She didn't know I was going for surgery. Like she walked out of the room. Next thing she knows, I'm gone and getting admitted. So all of this is going on, and I go, what are the chances? And he goes, it's a 15% chance that you'll never do dialysis. I'm like, you know what? That's my favorite number. Let's go. So that was literally my mindset, was like, let's go. I have no choice. Let's go do this. So I go into emergency surgery, and with that, I come out and I feel okay. I'm just really groggy and tired, being funny to the nurses and making jokes because I'm higher than a kite. And with that, because it's one of those things that you do, right? So with that, 3 days later, my liver went completely back to normal. The doctor was like so embarrassed. He wouldn't come say hi to me or come see me. He kept sending other people, the GI, because I proved him wrong. And I thought that was really crazy, because it's like, that should be like a study case for you.
Yeah.
My oncologist was the best. However, he was like, listen, you're the healthiest person I've ever had. I think whatever you've done before this is showing us that maybe we should do things differently. So that was really why I chose him, and I trusted him and his team and whoever he wanted to bring on board, because he didn't bash me for what I did. He goes, you're so smart. There's so many cutting edge technologies. There's so many different things. There's so many avenues. Good for you for trying. When I started chemo, I didn't really have reactions. And my doctor's like, okay, I need you to write down everything you're doing, because this is amazing. So that's how our relationship was. They were very honest. It was a very great experience with them. Definitely some hiccups along the way of going through the most aggressive chemotherapy. So they actually got approval because they did a protocol from Germany. So not even a US based protocol, it was a protocol from Germany. So they did this protocol, they got approval on it. And I did 8 days straight. So I do 8 days of chemo. I would do 8 days of recovery shots because I was allergic to Lunesta. Got like chemo burn from it, got really sick, had to have blood transfusions, like crazy stuff. And then on the 17th day, I'd have surgery. 21st day, I'd start all over again. So that was my cycle for 10 and a half months. I went through that completely by myself. At that point, I had relocated, sold my homes from Vegas, moved to LA by myself, relocated. My mom would fly in for my surgeries because I did not want anyone there while I was going through chemo. I was very
She was
stubborn.
in California?
She was in Vegas. So she lived in Vegas and I moved to LA. But I moved by myself and I sold everything I owned, and I knew I had to because of what was happening in Vegas on the doctor's side. So I go through all my surgeries, go through all of my chemo. I get in remission at 10 and a half months, which was amazing from being stage 4. And at that point, a 2-time cancer survivor. And then I go in for my 6-month follow-up. I move back to Vegas. I go back in for my 6-month follow-up. My tests show clear. Everything shows 100% normal. I beg my doctor. I'm like, doc, I know I might sound crazy, but I have a lymph node under my underarm and it's driving me crazy. He goes, it's in the scan. There's nothing there. I'm like, no, I don't agree. I need a biopsy. I need to have peace of mind. Let's monitor and think about it, is what he tells me. And he's great. It's nothing bad about him. I cannot let it go. So I call him like every day. I email him every day. And I'm like, please just let me go to a surgeon, get this out just for peace of mind. He goes, okay, fine. Like a month later, finally agrees. get the surgery. I have to go back to California for it from Vegas. So here I am traveling back and forth, get the surgery, and it comes back positive for cancer.
How'd you feel that moment? Just like
Oh,
defeated?
I felt so defeated. I had literally went through a lot of stuff prior. I moved back to Las Vegas to restart my life. I had a great job. I'm restarting my life. Everything's good. I feel great. I'm working out. I'm like myself again. And there I get kicked down. And my doctors are not in Vegas. So what do I have to do? I have to go see doctors in California. So Vegas turned into driving back and forth to California because I couldn't fly at the time because I just got cleared for cancer and they didn't want like the exposure of so many people because they were like, oh, we want to work on your immune system before you're exposed like that. So I drove back and forth constantly, and I went out to see a bunch of doctors. The session they wanted to do with me is they wanted to put me in a quarantine box and do chemotherapy and do it for like 6 months, and at the end of it have a stem cell transplant. That was an absolute no. I was like, there is no way. I don't care what the technology is. What's the percentage? What is the percentage that I'll never deal with cancer again? Well, statistically, it's still in clinical trials, so we're not sure. I'll pass. Thank you. Next doctor. So I go and I find the next doctor through my oncologist at this point, and he said immunotherapy to me. So I was like, okay, I'll think about it. And I basically got forced into doing immunotherapy from his assistant at the time. It was like a doctor assistant. They work in teams usually out here. And she's like, you need to do this. If not, you're going to get sick and you're going to die or you're going to be stage 4. Like scare tactics.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about this stuff. Scare tactics, scare tactics, scare tactics. So I agreed to do immunotherapy. I'm like, you know what? I'm not letting it go again. I'm not going through holistic. I'm not spending all this money. I'm not going everywhere. Let's just try immunotherapy. Within the first few weeks of it, I go completely back into remission. However, they did not stop treatment. They kept continuing treatment. And I'm getting blood work one day and they're taking like vials, like 8 tubes of blood from me. And I'm like, why are you guys taking so much? Like I've been through a lot. I've never had that much blood taken ever. And they tell me that I was signed up for a clinical trial on immunotherapy. So I was basically pushed into it to become a clinical trial without being disclosed about that. So I was like, can I opt out? And they're like, yeah. I was like, I opt out. My blood's 100% perfect. There's no need for this. No, thank you. And, especially as like someone who went through so much and like having the blood, like I had 3 emergency blood transfusions. It's like, I really didn't want to donate blood and have to go through that again. And my blood never showed anything. So what is it helping if it doesn't show? So that was really interesting to me. But that was the last part of my journey. They told me I would be on immunotherapy on and off for the rest of my life. And I've now been 2.5 years into remission. I have not done treatment since that treatment. And I thought that was amazing. So that was my story with cancer and my journey with it. I'm sure I left a lot out because there's so many twists and turns and crazy things that happen along the way. But that's the biggest part of my story. So yeah, it's crazy to experience so much at such a young age and to keep going through. And I always tell people, I'm like, I think we're always thinking that, cancer has an age base. It doesn't discriminate. And I think people forget about that. And it doesn't have a face until it's somebody
Gosh. Well, first of all, like kudos to you for sticking it through, for believing in, trusting your intuition on a lot of these things and not so much what somebody else was saying to you. And, I applaud you for everything. And I sit here and look at things that I've been through, and that really puts things into perspective. I mean, you talk about a fighter, you exemplify that. So, yeah, kudos. Um, Looking back at that journey, unfortunately, you had to experience all that. What would you say was the one thing that you really like learned about yourself that you really didn't know going into that?
Um, I really learned that I'll go the distance for myself. And I really learned a lot about like self-love and stuff while I was going through my everything, because everything really was releasing a lot of things and facing things I never faced before. And I didn't think about, like, a lot of stuff came up in it. So just the fact that I was willing to be my own voice
Yeah.
in this, and nobody was going to dictate my journey. Like, some part I left out. I had 9 doctors in Vegas after I was stage 4 tell me I would not make it past a year.
I
And I
can't
told
imagine what that did to you mentally.
Oh, it didn't, it actually didn't. It was
Really?
that was kind of like the Leo feisty in me was like, "Excuse me? You
Yeah.
said what? I'm gonna do it and you're gonna watch." And then I'm gonna be like, "Hey, I did it." Because to me it was like, and I told him, I was like, "You don't dictate if I make it through this.
Mm,
I dictate, and whatever's above, whatever you believe in above
yeah.
is going to dictate if it's my time or not. And I don't believe this is my time."
Yeah.
So that's where being my own advocate came in, was like not really agreeing with the terms they were giving me or telling me I was a death sentence. Cause it's one of those things you hear so much with people going through cancer. And, I had so many times like, "Oh, they're out of your network." Excuse me, I pay you. You're out of my network now because I'm going to a different network. And it was just one of those things that, like, I knew I could get through it. I just had to find the right people. And the doctors, I'm very thankful that I found a round of horrible doctors, because it's what got me past everything.
Jeez. Mm. Well, what are you doing nowadays?
So nowadays, I'm actually teaching people about the importance of hydration through medical technology. And I've been sharing that for 2.5 years. I had a huge transformation after I implemented it into my life.
Mhm.
So now I love sharing that technology with other people. So that's one of the things I do. The other thing I do is I also do circulation. So I'm a circulation specialist. So I help people just basically use a circulation device and help their bodies really rejuvenate. So I combined the water and the circulation, because it's two of the liquids in our body we
Yeah.
can control, and some of the things that are most overlooked in our health. So I've become a huge advocate for both. And it's been my passion. And just to keep continuing to do that, I think, it's something that nobody ever looks at. And it's been a blessing in my life, because both devices have helped my body create the change my body needed. Everybody always talks about healthy food, and diet this and diet that, but nobody talks about healthy water
Yeah, they
or
say, well,
healthy
I'm drinking water.
Right, or healthy blood circulation. None of this stuff is talked about.
Yeah.
So it's truly one of those things that I've just fell in love with. And then on the side, I don't charge for it, but I do some cancer coaching, just because I know it's like to go through that and you're exhausted, you're financially exhausted. So I just share my story with other people, and I really just let them know, like, "Hey, these are different resources. These are the things I did that helped me
Yeah.
while I was going through my treatment. Do what you want with it. You don't have to do anything. If you need somebody to talk to, call me." So very simple on that. And that's what I currently do now.
So much to unpack from that. First of all, what you're doing with cancer patients, I mean, once again, I commend you for it. And you even said, you had your mom, and I'm sure you had friends and stuff that you could talk to, but going through probably a lot of those appointments and stuff solo had to be, I mean, I couldn't imagine
Yeah.
what thoughts would start to creep into my mind. But the fact that you are that support for someone who may not necessarily have that, um,
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a difference maker. I mean, that's huge right there. And talk to us about the hydration and the circulation piece. Uh, and I'm telling you, folks, go follow her on Instagram. It will definitely make you look. I have not taken a sip of anything since I've been on the air with you. I'm so uh, petrified as to how you will view me, even though I have water sitting over here. But
Well, we're changing that.
yeah, definitely
Really,
go follow her on Instagram, which we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But talk to us about just going to the grocery store, buying water, or just getting. They have the Pura filter that you put on your kitchen
yep.
sink. So talk
Oh
to us
yeah.
about kind of debunk those.
All of that.
I'm gonna let you loose.
Let's go. Okay, so cut me off if I go too much on this, but basically what I learned is all bottled water goes through a process. So all bottled water is taken from a living source, which is whether your kitchen sink or a local sink, or a living spring, right? Spring water, huge thing, spring water, mountain fresh water. Then it's put into like reverse osmosis or another kind of filtration system. Well, if you look at the bottle, if you're drinking an Essentia or any drinks, if you turn it over, we now have ingredients in our water. And people argue about it because, oh, it's ingredients for our health. Okay, let's take a step back. If they're pulling everything out of the water, what are they putting back into the water as a mass production? And what chemicals are they adding to rebalance that water to sell it to you at an 8.5 pH or a 9.5 pH or a 7.0 pH? So that's the whole thing about bottled water is all of it is chemically altered and processed. Not only that, your water also sits in plastic for anywhere from a few months to a year before you even touch that bottled water. So by the time you get it, you're drinking some type of microplastic. There are also like hormone disruptors in plastic and all the other stuff as well. And a lot of people don't realize that plastic bottles are actually made in petrochemical plants. And then when you look at the companies making it, let's take Nestle, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, just to name a few. What health products do they make? And why would they make a good health product for you to buy water? Because it's about mass production. It's not in profit. It's not about health benefit. So if you're looking at like Essentia, it has ingredients. And then on the bottom of it, it says electrolytes for taste. Everything added says for taste. Hello, red flag, right? So that's my thing on bottled water is it is all chemically altered and processed. We don't know the true source as well. So a lot of companies are coming out that they're getting sued for like arsenic in their water or bottling issues, or people are getting sick. Like there's a lot of recalls on that. Why is water recalled? Because it's mass produced. It's mass chemically engineered. So that's the way I think about bottled water. And then on the other side of like home devices, just to talk about a few of those, are like Brita filters or like filters that go on your system. They don't go through any process to get certified. So they basically can say they do whatever they want and it doesn't matter because the regulation is it's just as good as tap water.
Mm.
So it's only regulation. It's just as good as tap water. So something I learned with doing this is there's something called water quality certifications. They actually have to go through the process of going through that certification system to say, hey, it does X, Y, and Z. Okay, it does X, Y, and Z. So why doesn't bottled water have water quality? Why don't home devices have water quality? So that was a huge thing for me. And that's something I love about this device is it actually does. It's also medically certified. And then on the other side of that medical certification, it's also 3 different ISO certifications. So it's a medical manufacturer to the consumer. So there's no middlemen in that, which is amazing because it cuts out,
Japan,
the
right?
store. Huh?
Isn't it from Japan?
It is. So it's from
Yeah.
Japan. It's a 46-year-old company. They're in over 300 hospitals. So it's just really one of those things that they've went through the process of truly making an amazing, amazing product. And learning about other waters has been insane because
Like
I
I
was a
could
huge
bottle my own water, right? Couldn't I bottle my
yeah,
own water and have Shadows podcast water and sell it if I chose to?
you can bottle it, you can sell it, you know, you can do all that stuff with it. You know, it's one of those things with it too, is like once you become your own source, you also know what you're drinking and what your family's drinking. And there's also multiple types of water in the device as well. So you can use different waters for different things.
Mhm.
Uh, Water can be a disinfectant. It can be a vegetable cleaner, a degreaser.
Yeah.
It can be a household cleaner. Like it can be a beauty water for your
Probably different
skin.
settings and stuff.
Yeah, there's different settings of clean water. So if you're taking medication or formula, like where for a baby, you can drink that clean water. So it's like a mimic of spring water. And then it goes in the alkaline water. So there's an 8.5, 9.0, and 9.5. So you really can change your water every day. And the best thing is you can really know your source, you can save money and know that it is a quality product. And a lot of the stuff that's out there, I just realized like testing it, even different ionizers, is they don't even compete. They don't have the same technology. They don't have medical equipment inside the device, like medical plates. So they turn the water acidic after a few years.
Yeah, and I'm actually pulling up your Mendez_strong,
Yeah,
your
my
Instagram.
IG.
Yep.
Yep.
And she's got all kinds of videos on there where if you don't believe her, just her audio piece here on the podcast, go check out her videos and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so gross. Because like you said, we talk about health food, and it's like, well, I'm drinking water, check that box. And we automatically assume, that we're safe. But like you said, the regulations on water and stuff, you could bottle your own. And then watching your videos, it's super scary to think
What's crazy too is it's even state regulation. So they're allowed to exceed health standard guidelines. So it's like, where does this stop? And as a consumer, that's the only way it stops, is you stop becoming a consumer and you start creating that change in your life and other people's lives. Because, there's a huge thing about, I don't know if anybody watched it, but Erin Brockovich in the 90s,
yeah,
the chemical she talked about is now in 35 states, across 35 states, contaminated in the water, knowing it is a cancer causing contaminant. So that was something that really got me like more into like, okay, what kind of filters are good? What's this? What's that? Because learning that like all water doesn't have a quality standard is insane, even down to our tap water that we shower, we bathe in, we swim in. Like and I always tell people, like, think of a fish tank. Like if a fish is in dirty water, what happens?
yeah.
Or you're willing to pH balance your pool, but nobody thinks about pH balancing their body.
Yeah.
So that's something for me that I always had bottled water services. I had my alkaline water tested when I got this device introduced to me, and my water tested acidic, even though it was sold to me as alkaline. So I knew I needed to take control. And with that, I implemented it right after I stopped my last treatment. And I'm not saying it does any curing or anything, but since then, my body has been in a better shape than it's been in my life. So I really feel a difference, a daily difference of energy, clarity, brain fog, just everyday life stuff, sleep better, hydrate better. So that for me was what really got me with this. And I did not see a business side of it or helping other people with it. I had no idea. I just knew I needed this. I knew I deserved it. And I knew that I needed it. Like I'm on an alkaline diet, drinking acid every day.
Yeah, folks, Mendez_strong. Go check out her videos. I'm telling you, it's going to definitely make you. Now I'm curious as to like what you're drinking over there now.
I'm drinking my water, the 9.5.
Okay. But yeah, definitely go check her out. And the thing is, like, you're really consistent with the videos too. Like, it's not like you get one and then you don't see another one for a while. Like I think you post actually better than I do with my shadow stuff. So, but talk to us about the circulation piece as well.
So the circulation device is a medical grade 2 PEMF device. So what it does is it sends a signal to your microvessels, which is 74% of our blood.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually teaches your microvessels how to open and close properly. So it increases your blood flow by 30% and your lymphatic flow by 35%. The signal lasts for 12 to 16 hours in your body. So the after part of it is really incredible as well, super beneficial. It helps basically create better blood flow, of course. So better blood flow, better elimination, better nutrient disposal into your body because you're opening up your blood and letting it flow. So you're getting more nutrients as well. And then it just helps your body overall with like sleep, recovery, muscle building, stamina. So there's so many different things. I can literally go on and on about this device. It is truly amazing. There's so many amazing things. We're actually partnered with NASA. NASA couldn't copy our technology.
Incredible.
So they actually, amazing, right? They couldn't
Yeah.
figure out the signal we have. So they put it in their space suits. So their astronauts aren't coming back as depleted, which is amazing. But really, it just helps your body help your body is what it really does. And that's what's really amazing. And one of my favorite things on it is there's this amazing sleep mode, and it helps you get into your REM cycle sleep. Before that, I was sleeping maybe 20 minutes because I went and bought a watch. I'm like, I'm going to time this. I want to see because I'm always like, I want to believe why it's important.
Yeah.
So I looked and I was getting like 20 minutes of REM sleep. I did the cycle one night. It was a 7-hour cycle. It does it while you're sleeping. I got 2.5 hours of REM. And I was like, interesting. So it's just really cool because both of these things truly, for me, go hand in hand. Because one, you're supposed to drink water after you get that circulation going. But really, they're both incredible things that help so many people, and they're global. So being able to help people in such a mass way is incredible.
And that sleep is so underrated too.
So underrated.
Oh my gosh. You have a miserable night's sleep. We're tough to deal with the next day.
Totally. But we're moody, we're short.
Yeah. So no, for our listeners to find out more about anything, the hydration, the circulation pieces that you've been talking about, where can you point them to?
So they can either go to my Instagram, of course. There's also, holistichydration.org, or they can go to beamer.com. There is also me through beamer.com. So Mendez Christina at beamer.com.
Yeah, because it'll actually say like you've been referred here by you, I believe, if you go there. So, okay. What final comments do you have for our listeners?
Final comments. If you or a loved one is diagnosed with cancer, explore your options. Be your own advocate and understand that there are other options out there for you. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Nobody's body is exactly the same. And there are technologies out there that can make you get whatever treatment you need. So just be your own advocate and believe in yourself and trust in the journey. That's one of my things for the listeners going through it. And the other part is, just be the best self you can be and be selfless. Like doing stuff just to serve yourself only gets you so far. But when you want to go into something and serve others and help other people, you can't fake that. And you have to really just be selfless and be there for other people, because at the end of the day, everybody's going through something, and you never know when the time comes around when it's your turn to be going through something. Yeah. So just be kind to everyone you meet. You never know their journey.
Well, I'm just blown away by your incredible story and how tough you are, and to be here today is positive outlook as you have, and just trying to make others better, and yourself. I mean, it's just kudos to you. I applaud you for everything, and I think you're one of those guests that just, I mean, it really exemplifies like what the show's about. We have those low moments, but fight through them, and hopefully a listener can tune into this episode and have a takeaway, whether it's a family member who eventually goes through something. Like you said, cancer doesn't discriminate. And you know, I may have someone, God forbid, in my family or myself that goes through something down the road, and hearing your message can definitely resonate and help out. So I thank you for all that you do. And folks, go check her out, Mendez_strong on Instagram. And then we'll have all the other links that she had throughout this episode as well, listed on this episode description. But, ma'am, thank you. I got to send Brandy Benson a huge thank. She's awesome, by the way.
She's amazing.
Oh yeah, she is. She's awesome. But yeah, I'll definitely send her a huge thanks. And folks, we will see you next week for another episode of the Shadows Podcast.